Updated, am I the a-hole for breaking up with my pregnant girlfriend because I don't want to be a father? Original post, I, 25 male, had been with my now ex, 23 female, for a little over 3 months. I always made sure that we used lots of precaution when having sex. She was on birth control and I always used condoms. I wanted to avoid a child. I've known for a long time that I do not want children. I find them annoying and they would severely limit my ability to do the things that I enjoy, traveling, outdoor stuff, etc. Unfortunately for me, my ex didn't have her period when she was supposed to, and it turns out that she's now pregnant. She came to me and told me that she was. The first thing that I did was suggest an abortion. We don't live in a state where it's legal, so I offered to pay for her flight and hotel and told her I'd be happy to come with her to get it done. I have a stable job and make good money, so it wouldn't be too much of a hit for me. She works as a receptionist and doesn't make a lot, so I figured out it would be better for me to pay. That's when she told me that she's going to keep it, and that she wanted me to help her raise the kid as its father. I have no intention of being a father. Beyond just my dislike of children, I'm not ready for that. I made it very clear that I didn't want the baby, but she kept insisting that I'd have a change of heart once it's born and to just try it out. After a long exchange, I told her that if she intended to keep the baby, I would not act as a father. I broke up with her and told her that I would pay a child support once it's born, but that I expect her to respect my wishes and keep the child away from me. Since then, she's been frantically texting me, begging me to come back and telling me she'd forgive me. She sent me voicemails crying. It does hurt to see, but I haven't responded. The other day, she texted me saying how she can't raise the kid alone and how I'm basically forcing her to get the abortion just by leaving. She called me an a-hole, an abuser, and a sexist. She ended the text begging me to talk again. I certainly feel crappy. I really liked her and we had a good relationship before this, but I just don't want to be a father. I'm already bitter about the fact that I'll have to pay child support for 18 years, which will somewhat limit me financially. I also feel it isn't right for a parent who doesn't want their child to be involved. I just end up taking that pent-up anger and bitterness out on the child who is ultimately innocent, which I feel isn't right. With all this said, I came here to ask, am I the a-hole? I certainly feel like one, but I also stand by what I did. Clarifying edits. On the topic of vasectomy, I tried. I met with a doctor last year and asked about getting one, but he refused and said every doctor he knows won't do it until you're at least 30. It's a conservative state, and while I dislike the politics, I was born and raised here, so I'm still attached to the state and have never felt the urge to leave. Someone said that I should have flown somewhere to get one, and I guess they're right, but I just didn't think about that. On the topic of birth control, I bought the condoms myself, so they were fine. Whenever we were done, I'd throw the used condoms in the dumpster, so I don't think that she went dumpster diving. I asked her on our first date if she was taking birth control, and she said yes. I took her for her word. Maybe foolish just to believe her, but if she was lying, she'd be the first I've met to lie about that. Most girls I've met are honest about it. I assumed she was on the pills since that's the main birth control I know, but maybe she was on something that I'm not educated enough on. That being said, I'll follow your advice and lawyer up, plus get a paternity test. I don't know how long that will take, but whenever I get it done, I'll update here with the results. Thank you for your judgments. I've been away for a bit, but I'm catching up and trying to read what I can. I'll be checking back periodically and replying to some people. All further feedback is appreciated. Now for the comments before reading the update. Commentator asks about his family and their support. OP. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'll just give it piece by piece. Obviously, what you've experienced is very difficult, so I'm sorry about that. I'm glad you found yourself. About my parents, yes, they want grandkids. They have been hounding me ever since I turned 20 about when I'm going to give them grandkids. I've already told them that I don't want kids, and my sister is lesbian, so they'll really be disappointed at this point. If they found out about the kid and that I was leaving, they would be furious, so I'm not telling them. About how I feel in the future. Honestly, I can't say 100%. I know that right now I 100% don't want kids, and I'm going off that feeling to assume that I'll feel the same in the future. Everyone lives with some level of regret, so I've come to peace with the idea that if I end up regretting this, I'll just have to move on and live with that like everyone else. If for some reason I felt regret, I wouldn't try to contact the kid. I'd just keep it to myself and keep chugging along like usual. If the kid does find me one day, I'll just be honest depending on how I'm feeling. Either I was 25 and I didn't want kids and I still don't, sorry. Or I was 25 and I thought I didn't want kids, I wasn't ready. It's been one of the biggest regrets of my life and I'm sorry. Depending on how I'm feeling, most likely the former. I don't know what gave you the impression that I've softened to the idea of having kids. I still firmly don't want kids. I just feel pity for the child because it isn't really their fault. I don't exactly feel good about leaving the child on a moral level, but on a personal level of what is best for me, I feel very confident in leaving. It's certainly a selfish decision, but I've been very upfront with the fact that I'm a selfish person. I feel bad about it, but I'm putting myself and my own personal needs first in this situation by doing what I think is best for me. It's extremely unlikely that she would give up the baby once she's already got the child in her arms and goes through the process. It's extremely emotional and we're wired to take care of our young. Chances of her giving up the baby are like 2%. She really needs to stop hoping you're all going to be a happy family someday because this is awful for her self-esteem. She can be happy as a single mother, even if it's very hard. Does she have a family willing to help her own parents? Motherhood is a huge adjustment, and doing it with zero support is awful. PPD is not a joke. She can totally do this without you, but it would be a lot better if she had at least some support from her family. OP says, I don't know that much about her family, haven't met them, just heard bits and pieces. Apparently her dad has some drinking issues and her mom is pretty closed off. They live in a different city too. That's about the extent of what I know, but I doubt that they'll be able to help her very much. I would consider locking down that pathway before she realizes it could lead to your mom. Blocking her before she sees your mom comment on a post and making everything go through a lawyer. By the sounds of it, she makes contact with them. It sounds that they definitely would take her side in the matter. You definitely have contact with your ex and her child because her family will be involved. I'm not saying that you need them, but I feel like within 18 years, they'll know, especially considering how the at-home DNA test and programs are. Either way, that doesn't change my mind on you. You're making the right call here, and now the ball's in your ex's court. I don't know if you're considering moving cities, but if you should, to increase the odds of you having no contact. I live near a work in a city of 1.5 million people, and I still have made contact with people I never thought that I would again. OP. I don't have a Facebook account, so my mom doesn't comment on my posts, but I'll take the advice and block my ex. I have a good job, and I like my apartment a lot, so I don't plan on moving from my city. Even if I see them, I plan to get some sort of legal agreement signed through my lawyer prohibiting direct contact, so hopefully they just have to ignore me if they saw me. Now for the updates. Update 1. I've hired one of the better family court lawyers in my state. She has someone representing her pro bono. It has been made clear to my ex and her representative that she is not to contact me personally and that all contact will go through my lawyer from now on. A paternity test is scheduled for next Wednesday. I don't know how long it will take to get the results, but the test is happening. If the child is mine, we will go to court to determine child support payments and we'll set up a process for me to sign away my rights. Another clarifying edit. I was gone for a while, and while reading through some comments, I have found a topic I'd like to clarify for anyone who still checks here and cares. At the beginning, I said I made sure to use lots of precautions. I thought people would take away from the idea that I made my intention to not have kids clear at the beginning. Just wanted to make sure that that was clear. She told me that she wasn't looking to have kids. I should have been more clear about this, I guess. I was under the assumption that she didn't want kids, which is why I was blindsided by her change of heart when she was actually pregnant. I understand it happens, feeling change or whatever, but for me it was a big shock. When I go to get the paternity test started, she will also have an ultrasound and we'll talk then. I'll update on Wednesday. By the way, the text will take a few days to process, so I'll also update with the results. Update 2. Sorry for the lateness, but I just got the test done and the results are in. The baby is a girl and is indeed mine. When I saw my ex, I had a talk with her. We talked about birth control and she told me that she was on birth control and had no intention of having children, but once she found out that she was pregnant, she changed her mind. I believe her. She was hopeful that I would come around to that perspective, so I made it very clear that I will not be part of the child's life and gave her 3 options. Option 1, get an abortion in any state of her choosing and I'll pay for her stay there for a week so she could basically take a vacation to Hawaii or New York City or LA on my dime, but I need to come with and get confirmation that she had the abortion. Option 2, put the child up for adoption and I'll pay for all the medical expenses that come with having a child. Option 3, keep the child and I pay my court-ordered child support, sign away my parental rights, have my name taken off the birth certificate, and have absolutely zero involvement with her or the child beyond my monthly payments. It was a tough conversation and she didn't take it well. She ended up crying for a while. She kept telling me that I would be a loving and kind dad, asking me to try fatherhood and think about how well our relationship was going before this happened, and to imagine our future together with a daughter. I told her I'm still firmly against fatherhood and she was devastated. She refuses to get an abortion but is scared to be a single mother at 23 even though she wants the child. She told me that if I'm with her during the birth, see and hold the child but still feel nothing for the baby after that, then she would consider adoption. She also said if I change my mind about fatherhood, she will be waiting with open arms to enjoy parenthood together as a loving family and would hope that I would propose. I have made it very clear that I don't want any involvement. I'm not sure what I should do since I would prefer for the baby to be put up for adoption rather than have to pay child support for 18 long years, but I also don't want to be around the baby at all or present during the birth. Advice is appreciated. Update 3, finally back with another update. Over the past few days, I've gotten a new influx of advice. Some of this advice has been helpful or interesting. Some really good ideas were given to me, so I set up a lunch with my ex yesterday and we had a long and productive chat. It was the first time that we had talked in over a month. All of our communication had been through the lawyers. I decided the best way to ensure the conversation was productive was to set some ground rules and make sure that we were operating from reality. Both of us haven't been very realistic. I told her that I was giving up on abortion or adoption. It was what I wanted, but I already know that it's not going to happen at this point. My ex wants the baby. I know she does, and I told her I know. I won't be bringing up abortion or adoption to her again. It just isn't worthwhile. I have to work within reality, and at this point, that means under the assumption that she will keep the baby. I also told her it's time for her to give up on me. I made it very clear to her that I will not be getting back together with her no matter what, even if she aborts the baby. She will never have the happy family with me that she wants. I made it clear that she needs to drop the idea because it won't happen, and it makes it impossible to find any real solutions to this situation. She acknowledged that there will be no happy family between us. I think reality has finally set in for both of us at this point. Nobody is going to get what they want. So it's time for a compromise. The new goal that we have agreed upon is this: provide my ex and our daughter with the support that they desperately need right now, while also allowing me to have zero involvement with raising the child. In other words, I will not be involved in raising the child whatsoever, but will try to give my ex the resources that she needs to make sure the child has a good life. I won't be in the delivery room and I will never see her. I will simply provide money. My ex has $25,000 in student debt that she needs to pay off. She is only making around $60,000 a year from her job, and she will be a single mother, which means child expenses and such. By contrast, I have only around $10,000 in student debt to pay off, and after a little over 2 years of working at the company, I just got a promotion and a significant pay raise, so I'm making roughly $150,000 a year. Additionally, there is plenty of room for further growth in my field, with income growth potentially all the way up to $325,000, although that is still pretty far off in the future. I don't say any of this to brag, just to put our situations in perspective. I'll have all my debts paid off by the end of 2025. Plus, I've been able to set aside money into a savings account and investment funds. What I'm trying to say is I have money and she doesn't, so I will be making up for my lack of presence with significant financial support. I would prefer to avoid court, so I worked with my ex to find a fair monetary support system. All of what comes next is a handshake agreement between the two of us. If someone has a problem, they can go to court and determine child support that way. We talked for a while about what a fair payment system would look like, and this is what we decided on. I will pay for all of my ex's medical expenses that come with carrying the baby, including doctor visits and hospital bills. When the baby is born, I will pay my ex $2,000 per month in child support to pay for the child's expenses. This will leave my ex with breathing room and allow her to continue paying off her student debt. We don't have exact math, but our estimate we found using phone calculators was that it would probably take her between 6 to 8 more years to pay off all of her student debt. Once she has paid off all of her debt, the monthly child support payment will drop to $1,000 a month. If my ex finds a man who she marries and takes on the role of a father to the child, then my child support payments will stop since he will be able to provide an extra income stream. Additionally, I will create a savings account that my ex will be able to see. Starting the day the baby is born, I will deposit $500 into the account. I will then deposit $500 into the account on the first day of the month every month until the girl turns 18. At that point, she will be given access to the account as a college fund. Based on the math that we did, the account will roughly have $108,000 in it, not including interest. I don't know how much college will cost by then, but that should be a significant help to help her pay for college. If she decides not to go to college, I will empty the fund into my personal savings account so she only gets the money if she attends college. The fund has another condition on it, but I'll get to that later. Beyond money, my ex and the child will need emotional support. This is where my lovely sister comes in. She and her wife love kids. They have been looking into adoption for a few months now. Based on another comment I got, which I cannot find anymore and it's driving me crazy, I think whoever wrote it deleted it, from a woman whose brother was in a similar situation. The woman decided to take an active role and help his ex raise the child of her own volition because she liked kids. Knowing my sister was already interested in raising a child with her wife, I reached out and asked her if she would be interested in helping my ex. She was very excited about the prospect if my ex would have her. I asked my ex what she thought and she said yes. My sister and her wife will act as a support system for my ex. When they have time, they will help my ex with things like babysitting, giving her any advice she needs, or just being there for her to talk to. They'll also be extra family for the child, helping make things like birthdays and holidays special. This is where the second condition for the college fund comes in. As I'm sure you've noticed, my sister is lesbian. I've gotten many questions asking why I don't want my parents involved with the child. Let me answer them. My sister came out at 14. From then on, she was the scum of the earth at our house. My parents are extremely religious and very homophobic. So as soon as she came out, they hated her. No more birthdays, no more Christmas, no more family dinners. They gave her the absolute bare minimum necessities to survive and then left her alone otherwise. Obviously, it was extremely toxic. What they did was awful, and my sister has rightly gone no contact with them. My second condition for the college fund is that my ex cannot tell them about the child or let them meet her. What they want most in the world is a grandchild, and I will not give them that joy. My ex has my sister's help and support, so she doesn't need my parents. I made it clear that if I ever find out about her visiting them with the child, there will be no college fund. Finally, I want to talk about me writing a letter. Based on advice from someone whose father came back and then left, they told me not to come back, but to write a letter to my daughter as closure. I don't want to come back, so I thought it was a great idea. The letter will explain why I'm not around in this whole situation. I'm going to be truthful, but try to also be gentle in the letter. The goal is to make it clear that I didn't leave because of a particular hate towards her, but just because I never wanted to be a father in the first place. I'll also include something about how hard her mother tried to make me reconsider and how much her mother loves her. I'll end it by wishing her good luck in life. The letter will be officially notarized and will be signed by both me and my ex. When she turns 18, if she has questions about me and wants them answered, my ex will give her the letter. If the letter still can't satisfy her and she wants further answers, I've given permission for her to talk to me in person. I feel I owe it to her to answer her questions in person if that's what she needs for closure. My ex also felt strongly about wanting my name on the birth certificate, so I've agreed to that. In summary, my ex will keep the child. I will provide child support payments. I will provide a college fund on the condition that the child goes to college and my parents are never involved in this situation. My sister and her wife will help my ex by acting as an extra support system for her, and I will write a letter to my daughter explaining why I'm not present that will be given to her only if she wants it as a way for her to gain closure. Full thing won't post in comments, so I'll post it in chunks. By the way, this will likely be my last update. Things are mostly figured out. Thank you for all the advice and help. Also, for anyone who hasn't seen, I'll be getting a vasectomy in Colorado in February of 2024. I'd already said so, but I'll put it here too. Update 4, short and boring update. I got our terms from Update 3 written up into a contract and X is signed. Some minor changes have been made, which I will outline. Some things weren't legally enforceable, so those have remained part of a handshake agreement. The basic contract is I have 0 visitation rights and will never be allowed visitation rights. But X also has made active efforts to keep the child away from me. I will be paying for her medical care during the pregnancy process. We decided to adjust the payment system. I will be paying $1,500 a month in child support, and an extra $500 will be in support for every $50,000. My salary increases by currently $150,000, capping out at $500,000 for a max support payment if $5,000 a month. The handshake part of the agreement is the college fund in exchange for not notifying my parents and their granddaughter's existence. The college fund will be monitored by my sister. I deposit $500 a month until the kid turns 18. Then the fund is made available to her if she is going to go to college or a trade school. If she decides to forego higher education, she will instead receive a flat sum of $27,000, roughly 1/4 of the total fund, and the remainder of the fund will go back to me. We scrapped the idea of a letter. If she wants to see me when she's 18, she'll have to come find me. I decided it's best to make it slightly a higher barrier to finding me. My sister will still be involved in helping X with her parenting of the child, and they have chosen to make the girl aware that my sister is her aunt. Shit is pretty much settled. X is pretty far into pregnancy at this point and everything is worked out. Sorry to disappoint everyone who still wanted me to step up and be a present father. That is never happening. Additional comments. Commentator asks about the role of OOP's sister will be doing in the entire situation and the parental rights, boundaries, and contacts with the ex, the child's mother. OOP, sister isn't a middleman. She won't be giving me any information about the kid because she knows I don't want to hear it. She can be as involved or uninvolved as she wants, but when we are spending time together, we won't talk about the kid. I'm paying her because it's either this contract or I go to court for child support, and it's much easier to set up through a contract than it is to go through court. Plus, I feel I got decently favorable terms. I guess I could flee the country if I really didn't want to pay, but that's such a pain in the ass. I'm going to sign away my parental rights, but that really means nothing. In my state, you still have to do child support if you sign your rights away. It's more just a symbolic thing to make sure that I don't have to ever have custody. Sometimes courts can force a father who doesn't sign his rights away to take custody in certain situations. Also makes it so that if something happens to my ex, the kid won't fall to me. Ex's ultimate goal is a happy family, so if she can find a guy that she likes, the goal is to marry him. If he wants to, he can adopt the child. That's going to be his choice. If he adopts her, then my payments cease, but the handshake agreement for the college fund continues. If he doesn't adopt her, the funds continue. Beyond monthly payments, I will have 0 contact with my ex. I don't plan on showing my financials to anyone I date in the future. If I find someone that I'd want to marry, then I'd come out and say what is going on, but I don't plan on disclosing it until very late into the relationship. If it's a deal breaker and it ends the relationship, then I'll find someone else. I don't know what I'll say if she finds me. I'd hope that she never feels the need. If she does, I'll probably just be straight up and tell her I never wanted kids to begin with. It's nothing against her specifically. I just was against the idea of ever having kids. I will not remain in contact with her if she comes to visit. The plan would be that if she can talk or vent or ask as many questions as she wants, then move on for good. I don't want a sustained relationship, so it's going to be a one-time thing. This person says the girl knows your sister is her aunt. She will quickly figure out that you are probably her dad once she's online. Hopefully my ex will be smart enough to know that kids don't belong on social media. I wasn't given a phone until I was 13 and it had heavy restrictions. I wasn't able to make any social media accounts until I was 18. For as annoying and conservative as my parents were, this was one of the very few things they ever did that was correct. Children don't belong on social media until they are 18. My ex doesn't raise the kid like this, that's fine, but my sister and I have already talked about this. The plan is that once she gets a social media account, my sister will share it with me, and I'll block her immediately so that she can't contact me through social media. Story 2. My ex-wife, 36 female, still keeps trying to get back together with me, 36 male, and our daughters, 16 female, want that to happen too, plus update. Original post. Doesn't really sound like a big problem, right? Yeah, well, I wish I could just plain tell her to piss off and never bother me again. There is the matter of us having 2 daughters and sharing custody, so I can't excise her from my life on a permanent basis. Not without removing our daughters too. We married fairly early in our lives back when we were 20, and we had been dating for 3 years before that. Our daughters were born in the very first year of the marriage, and there were some complications which meant my ex-wife would have difficulty conceiving again. Didn't matter to me at the time because I was just glad that she made it healthy and fine through the whole ordeal, and that we already had 2 beautiful baby girls to love and raise up. The marriage lasted for 9 years. Ended when I divorced her for cheating. I have absolutely no tolerance for it, and I don't believe in forcing myself to suffer needlessly for shit that wasn't my fault to begin with. While this might sound incredulous to some folks, any love that I have for my ex-wife was pretty much killed when I found out about her cheating and the details behind it. So yeah, this isn't a threat about me moving on from her. I've done that 7 years ago. Hell, I don't even hate her. I just don't give a damn about what goes on in her life unless it concerns our daughters. The problem is that it's only me that moved on from the whole thing. The ex-wife, her family, and even our daughters have kept trying to get us back together, even though I have made it plain for everyone that I have no interest of ever doing that. Me not dating at first for a few years after the divorce might have been giving them false hope, but I sure as hell wasn't going to jump into another relationship soon afterwards. Not with our daughters to look after. They were number one priority, besides my own issues which stem from my ex's cheating. Those issues, by the by, got resolved with the help of friends, family, and some counseling. So yeah, that's over and done with. I have no issue in communicating with our girls, none whatsoever. Anything else? They can just understand it is just fine. There's never been any fighting, no yelling, no nonsensical teenage rebellion thus far, no tantrums thrown, and so on. Pretty great, right? Except this whole thing. They know about her cheating on me, and it was their mother, in fact, who told them about it some 3 years ago or so. I imagine she's been feeding them some kind of bullshit since then, and I've asked her countless times to stop it, that it wasn't helping anyone, that it only prevented them from moving on. But the ex-wife didn't stop. She apparently got more subtle about it. In all the years since we divorced, she hasn't dated or slept with anyone else. While I suppose she thinks that's admirable, I don't. To be honest, I find it kind of insulting. When we were married, she effed somebody else, but now she's just fine going without sex for 7 years? Whatever. Not that it matters. While I could ignore the occasional mentions of their mother of how well she looks, of them showing me photos they took with her, obviously all dolled up for my sake, it's gotten worse lately. Why? Because I have a girlfriend. Clements is not the first since the divorce, but she is the most serious relationship I had since my marriage ended. She also happens to be 8 years my junior. Before getting together as a couple, we knew each other for 4 years through a shared hobby. So basically, it was a gradual transition from being friends to being involved with each other. I can honestly say I love this woman. It was a surprise to me when I realized that, because while I didn't really want to admit it to myself, I was afraid for a time that what my ex-wife did to me damaged me on some fundamental level and rendered me incapable of ever truly loving someone else like I once loved her. Initially, my daughters had very little to say about our relationship, much like they didn't comment anything on the previous 2 that I had post-divorce. But then they started coming home ahead of the schedule we set up in advance, and they'd find me and Clements together, nothing compromising, not sex or anything of the sort. Then came the grumbling. Then came the "why is she here?" question. Then came, "it's not fair to mom what you're doing," as if I was actually doing this solely to spite or to hurt their mother. So I sat them down and talked, and I talked, and I talked, but they're just not getting it. They simply won't give up on this preposterous fantasy of theirs where I'm back again with their mother. Clements, thank goodness, has been understanding and isn't upset by their behavior. She's basically saying to give them time, but I kind of doubt that will work. It hasn't so far, so I have no idea why more time would change anything. Anyway, since I'm really all out of ideas, I figured I might as well ask you folks here if any one of you might have an idea how to handle this. Is there even a way, an approach of any sort, that could work on my daughters realizing I will not, under any circumstances, get back with her mother? Additional comments. You needed a chat with your daughters. You say that while your mother and you are good friends and have worked together to give your daughters a stable upbringing, there is no way in hell you're getting back together. You should say that if their mother thinks or says anything to the contrary, it's not going to happen. You say like Clements, and if things go the way that you want them to, your future will be with her, not with their mother. OP. I already did that dozens of times. It just doesn't seem to be reaching them at all. At one point, that was about a year back, they asked me why I don't want to get back together with her mother. When I brought up her cheating, and I admit that at the time I wasn't sure if I should have done that, but I honestly couldn't think of anything else. It turned out their mother had already told them about it several years back. They keep using the same approach every time of how she's faithful to me now. When I pointed out to them that she can't be faithful to me given that we're not together to begin with, they just ignore that. I've talked with my ex-wife about this on numerous occasions, possibly 100 times by now, about not bringing our adult lives and messing up our daughters, in one ear and out the other. At one point, I admit I even contemplated going to court for sole custody, but I was advised it would not work out well for me, so I dropped that approach. Do your daughters know the reason why you divorced? Do they know that your ex cheated on you? I think it was already stated. I don't ever favor telling young kids that, but your daughters are nearly adults. It seems like they are laboring under some delusion about why the divorce happened, likely fed to them by their mother without your rebuttal. Perhaps setting the record straight on that regard might help. You don't have to be disrespectful about her. You can be factual and still get the point across. Yes and yes, I actually tried telling them that about a year ago, only to find out that their mother had told them several years back, when they were just a few months shy of turning 13. They know their mother cheated on me. Now here's the thing that I think is messing with their minds. They never saw their mother as anything but loving towards me or them, or at least they don't remember it if they did see her acting coldly and distant towards me. During her affair, and yes, it was an affair, not just a one-time thing, not that I wouldn't have divorced her either way, she was very much the opposite of loving in the bedroom. They never really saw that, nor should they have. My approaches for the intimacy were often rebuffed, and I felt more and more dejected until one day I realized, with the help of a very close and very good friend, that there was nothing wrong with me, and therefore something had to be wrong with her, which is what led me to discovering the affair, because I started looking for reasons why our love life had suddenly dropped so much in quality and quantity. And it wasn't just sex. There were the small things missing from our daily lives too. I know it sounds silly, but we always kissed at the front door in plain sight before either of us went to work. That's something that only now, in retrospect, became plain to see that was missing. Bottom line is, their mother denied me even the most basic of affections while giving it to someone else outside of her marriage. To me, that's unforgivable. They don't understand that. They couldn't, not even if I told them, which I rather wouldn't, and how hurtful it can be when you realize that your spouse didn't really give a damn about you all that much. So all this, all the regret and remorse and pining for us to get back together, to me it's worthless. What's the point? Where was all this supposed love and guilt and remorse when it should have mattered the most? Now for the update. It's been a while since I was first here, and I was reminded recently that I owed an update to the kind and good people here who helped me with our troubles. A lot of things have happened. Among those things, my daughters actually stumbled across my post. I had no idea they even browsed Reddit, let alone this place. When I came home one day from work, I found them crying. They pretty much jumped me and hugged me and wouldn't let me go and begged me to forgive them. Sadly, they had read one of my replies and found out that the dreadful extent of my ex-wife's affair and how much it devastated me. It took us a while, but we got through it as a family. There was nothing for me to forgive. They're still young and they love their mother, who took that love and used it to manipulate them. That's not on her, not them. There was some much needed counseling, but after several months, the woman who was helping us heal and moved on has said that nothing more was needed to be done, and they should only check in with her once in a while rather than continue their weekly sessions. We're closer than we were before, but their relationship with her mother has suffered for it, which I think is completely understandable. But I still caution them about lingering too much on what she did, since I had gotten over what she did all those years ago. That was something also resolved in counseling, both our own and our shared ones, so it's all behind us now. I had a brief confrontation with my ex-wife about it and made it clear that she was not to talk about this getting back together nonsense anymore with her daughters. I can't tell if it really got through to her, but my daughters have not been pestered about me since then. Or they simply ignore their mother and don't bring it up at home. Either way, so long as my daughters are doing fine, I could care less about what my ex-wife is doing. Since the situation has improved, things have also become much better between my daughters and my girlfriend. So much that they actually started talking with her, rather than just exchange terse greetings and goodbyes, even occasionally asking for tips on something, girly stuff of course, and I can't tell you how much it warmed my heart to see it happening for the first time. I'll admit that also helped me push my thoughts in the direction of proposing to my girlfriend, who had been incredibly supporting and understanding through all of this. We had known each other for a long time now, spent so much time as a couple, and after all this mess, I didn't really think that there was anything more that I could do to express my love for her. However, I was beaten to the punch. 2 months ago, Clements, together with my daughter, surprised me one day and proposed to me. I have to say that I felt very odd, but very happy. Not just the proposal, but that my daughters had actually worked with my girlfriend on surprising me that day with dinner and a night out. To put it simply, I was blown away. It was a small and private ceremony with only our closest friends and family attending. Currently, we're also expecting, and my daughters are looking forward to having a baby brother or sister to spoil. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.